Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my top 24 quarterback rankings and tiers for the 2023 fantasy football season. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's jump in Michael Phelps style top 24 quarterback rankings and tiers for 2023 fantasy football. Tier number 1 is consisted of 3 players. All 3 of these quarterbacks, in my opinion, are the upper echelon for fantasy football. I don't really think there is any argument you can make that any players ranked below tier number 1 should be in this tier with these 3 guys. So Jalen Hurts, my quarterback 1 of the Philadelphia Eagles, current underdog ADP, quarterback 2 at pick 21.5 on the season. Last year he finished as the QB 3, but he was the quarterback number 1 in points per game. He did miss some time and only played 15 games in 2022, having 460 passing attempts, 30.7 per game, ranking 16th at quarterback, 3,701 passing yards, 246.7 per game, 10th, 22 passing touchdowns at a 4.8% rate, 14th, 6 interceptions, 28th at quarterback. He had 165 carries, first, 760 rushing yards, fourth, and 13 rushing touchdowns, first, a 97.8 true passer rating, fourth, and a 66.7 QBR, fourth at quarterback. So, there are going to be a lot of people that make negative comments about Jalen Hurts as a passer, kind of like they do with Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson isn't this great passer. Lamar Jackson's a running back. And while the jokes are kind of funny, some people they sling the same shit at Jalen Hurts. Ultimately, Jalen Hurts, as well as Lamar Jackson, are both very good passers. We just read it off. 4th in true passer rating, 4th in QBR. This is a Philadelphia Eagles offense that is loaded to the gills with weapons. Goddard, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They bring in DeAndre Swift. They bring in Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell. They have playmakers. They have a ton of them, and Jalen Hurts himself is a playmaker. The top tier rushing upside is what has me rank him above Mahomes and Josh Allen. Again, with all these tier ranking videos, these guys are all in the same tier. I view them all very highly and think of them in a similar fashion. So if you think Mahomes is slightly better or you like Josh Allen better, all power to you, right? I'm not going to make too much of an argument about that. I just have Jalen Hurts at number 1 because of that crazy rushing upside. Number 2, we got Pat Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs, current underdog ADP, quarterback 1 at pick 19.4. Finished the year as the quarterback 1, but he was the quarterback 3 in points per game. Playing in 17 games in 2022, he had 648 passing attempts, 38.1 per game. Third, 5,250 passing yards, 308.3 per game. First, 41 passing touchdowns, 6.3% rate, number 1. Now, typically, the passing touchdown rate needs to be around 5 to have a pretty normal season. Mahomes throwing for 6.3 is abnormal. It is amazing to throw at that high of a rate, but again, when you have a player that is as good as Patrick Mahomes, I don't want to say that him repeating 6.3% passing touchdown rate is impossible, because to me, he is the best quarterback on earth right now. 12 interceptions, 7th, 61 carries, 11th, 358 rushing yards, 9th, and 4 rushing touchdowns, 7th. Number 1 in true passer rating with 104.7. Number 1 in QBR with 77.6. Now again, Patrick Mahomes, I just said it, he's the best quarterback on the planet. In terms of being a pure passer, this guy cuts through defenses like he's playing fucking Fruit Ninja, all right? This guy is unstoppable on the field, but he just doesn't have that elite rushing upside. But the fact that he throws so many touchdowns, he throws for so many yards, even with a kind of mid-wide receiver core, running it back again, Mahomes is still an upper echelon option at quarterback. If he could run like Jalen Hurts, he'd clearly be the number 1 quarterback. He just doesn't have that rushing upside. That's okay, though. Still my quarterback number 2. At number 3, we got Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills, underdog ADP, quarterback 3 at pick 23.1. Quarterback 2 on the season, quarterback 2 in points per game, playing in 16 games last season. 573 passing attempts, 33.7 per game. Number 8, 4,316 passing yards, 253.9 per game. 7th, 35 passing touchdowns at a 6.1% rate. Third at quarterback, 14 interceptions, third at quarterback, 126 carries, third, 776 rushing yards, second, 7 rushing touchdowns, third, 14th in true passer rating, second in QBR. A big problem for Josh Allen last year was turnovers, not only interceptions, as well as the fumbles. He had some bad games, but I can understand why, right? You go back, you remember that injury that he sustained, and you kind of just push it out of your mind. Now, I'm still worried for the future because Josh Allen has been turnover prone his whole entire career. There has been talks about Josh Allen potentially tampering down, winding back on the rushing. Sure, you can say that in principle, but Josh Allen is a dog. The game is the game. He's not going to just, let me just slide or something when he's this big bastard who can charge through you like he's Derrick Henry. So he's still going to run. He's still a great quarterback. Again, sure, the interceptions suck, but when you throw as many touchdowns, you can run the ball as much as Josh Allen. Doesn't really matter for fantasy football. Moving to tier number 2, we got Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson. Justin Fields of the Bears, quarterback number 4, underdog ADP, quarterback 5 at pick 40.9, quarterback 6 on the season, and quarterback 6 in points per game, tied with Lamar Jackson. 15 games played in 2022, 318 passing attempts, 21.2 per game, 27th, 2,242 passing yards, 149.5 per game, 26th, 17 passing touchdowns, 5.3% rate, 16th, 11 interceptions, 10th, 160 carries, second, 1,143 rushing yards, first, and 8 rushing touchdowns, second. Both of these guys in this tier, this could be the quote-unquote rushing quarterback tier. These guys are, to me, not on the same level for fantasy football as Mahomes, as Allen, as Jalen Hurts. But also, these guys also have that top 3 upside. I'm not going to rank them in tier number 1, but would I be shocked if Fields was the quarterback 1 or Lamar Jackson? The answer is no. Justin Fields gets a better offensive line. They bring in a new weapon in DJ Moore, who I love as a wide receiver for the team. They still have Darnell Here Comes the Mooney, Chase Claypool. They have a decent running back core as well. Justin Fields, again, this guy that just has this freak athleticism, that crazy rushing upside, and he also has a fucking cannon attached to his right arm. I think DJ Moore is going to help him out a ton and make him a much safer fantasy football player. Obviously, you're still relying on the carries, the rushing yards, the rushing touchdowns, but he's going to do better, in my opinion, than 149.5 passing yards per game, because if he does that again, he probably won't be able to hit the quarterback 1 upside. Again, number 5, also in tier number 2, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens, underdog ADP, quarterback 4 at pick 32.2. Quarterback 14 on the season last year, but that's because he only played in 12 games. Quarterback number 6 in points per game, again tied with Justin Fields. 12 games played in 2022, 326 passing attempts, 27.2 per game, 25th, 2,242 passing yards, 186.8 per game, 26th, 17 passing touchdowns at a 5.2% rate, 16th, 7 INTs, 24th, 112 carries, 5th, 764 rushing yards, 3rd, 3 rushing touchdowns, 9th. This guy, again, another one of those guys who kind of beats the bad at passing allegations. 9th in QBR, 2nd in true passer rating. Lamar Jackson now gets Odell Beckham Jr., who might be a corpse of himself, fucking Weekend at Bernie style, or maybe he's still the Odell we saw in the Rams, who at times looked really good. They draft Zay Flowers, they have Rashad Master Bateman, they have Mark Andrews. Again, Lamar Jackson, injury prone, some people might say. I don't know too much about that. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I think Lamar Jackson's going to be just fine. I think he bounces back in a big way. Top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, without a doubt. Now we move to tier number 6 tier number 3 at the quarterback position, beginning with quarterback number 6, my boy Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty of the Cincinnati Bengals, underdog ADP, quarterback 6 at pick 43.3. But before we break down Joe Burrow some more, I want to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over on Underdog Fantasy. Now, if you are brand new to Underdog Fantasy, you're going to want to click on the link in the video description down below. They have the biggest, best ball fantasy football contest ever. $25 to enter, $3 million to first place, $15 million in total prizes. Best ball is the best part about fantasy football. My favorite part, at least, is the draft. In best ball, all you gotta do is the draft. You draft your team, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog will automatically put your highest scores in the lineup at the end of every single week. So you don't even have to pay attention to it. You could do your draft now or in August and then come back in the end of the season and magically potentially have $3 million in your wallet. So that would be amazing to see. Hopefully one of you guys do win. So if you're new, that interests you, click on the link in the video description or use promo code Notorious for a 100% first match deposit bonus up to $100. You deposit $100, you get an additional $100, 50, an additional 50, 25, you get an additional 25. Make sure you guys check that out. Link in the video description. And I am always on Underdog. It is a product I actually use. I only talk about products that I actually use. So back on into things here. Joe Shiesty, quarterback 4. Last year, quarterback 4 in points per game. Now, I considered putting Joe Burrow in the same tier as Lamar and Justin Fields, but him not having that rushing upside, it's crazy just how much rushing means in fantasy football. Him not having that rushing upside, I kind of just pegged him down because I feel like if Lamar and Fields stay healthy, Joe Burrow will finish behind him. Behind them, 610 passing attempts in 17 games, 35.9 per game, 5th, 4,527 passing yards, 266.3 per game, 5th, 36 passing touchdowns at a 5.9% rate, 2nd, 12 interceptions, 7th, 76 carries, 7th, 259 rushing yards, 12th, and 5 rushing touchdowns, 5th. Joe Burrow obviously has some rushing upside. He's not Hurts, not Lamar, not anyone who you think like Kyler, like crazy rushing upside, right? He doesn't have that, but is he just going to stand in the fucking pocket like a statue all game? No. So if you want to argue about some rushing upside, sure, you can do that with Joe Burrow. 100.6 true passer rating, 3rd. 58.5 QBR, 10th. Cincinnati Bengals are loaded to the gills with talent. Besides Joe Burrow, obviously, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Boyd. They also have Mixon, hopefully stays on the team. So they have a loaded offensive core for Joe Burrow. I don't think it really takes a rocket scientist to figure out just how good Joe Burrow is. I mean, we've seen it ever since the guy entered the league, and his offensive line looked a lot better last season. If they're able to build on that, Joe Burrow could finish even higher if he's not worried about getting his fucking head chopped off by the opposing defense. At number 7, we got Justin Herbert, the pervert, his kind of quarterback duo, part of the trio, I guess, of quarterbacks drafted in that season. Of the LA Chargers, underdog ADP quarterback 7 at pick 53.1, quarterback 11 on the season, quarterback 17 in points per game last year. A little shocking, to be honest with you, that he finished his quarterback 17. I would have thought that would have been a little bit higher, but if you remember, he did get banged up very early on in last season, but he's a warrior. He played through it all. 17 games played, 699 passing attempts, 41.1 per game, number 2, 4,739 passing yards, 278.8 per game, number 2, 25 passing touchdowns, a 3.8% rate. With a guy as good as Herbert, that should increase. 8th, 10 interceptions, 14th, 54 carries, 147 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns. Again, a guy with a little rushing upside, probably less than Joe Burrow, but again, he's also not necessarily a statue. He will try to run the ball at times. 94.1 true passer rating, 7th, 58.4 QBR, 11th. The Chargers draft Quentin Johnston in the draft. They obviously have Keenan Allen. They have Austin Eckler, who will hopefully stay. Mike Dubb, Magic Mike Williams as well. Just another guy in a loaded offense. Not a rushing quarterback. Has slight rushing upside. And even if the Chargers defense ends up fucking crumbling like they usually does, get hurt, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, Justin Herbert's going to be throwing the ball a bunch. The Chargers like to throw the ball. They also love to throw the ball to the running back, Austin Eckler, which is just free points for Justin Herbert. The pervert to close out tier number 3, we got Trevor Lawrence of the Jaguars, underdog ADP quarterback, 8 pick 63.6, quarterback 7 on the season, quarterback 13 in points per game, 17 games played, 584 passing attempts, 34.4 per game. Number 7, 4,113 passing yards, 241.9 per game. Number 9, 25 passing touchdowns, 4.3% rate. Number 8, 8 interceptions, 20th, 62 carries, 10th, 291 rushing yards, 10th, 5 rushing touchdowns, 5th. Trevor Lawrence looked way better last year, his rookie year. People were like, oh my God, why did they draft this guy at number 1? It's because Urban Meyer is a complete and utter fucking idiot. The guy has no idea what he's doing. They bring in Doug Peterson, baby, my guy Doug Peterson from the Eagles, and obviously things completely turn around. They add Calvin Ridley. They have Zay Jones. They have Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. They draft Tank Bigsby. They also have Travis Etienne. They have a lot of weapons for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball to. Again, you can kind of summarize this tier as great quarterbacks on offenses that are loaded to the fucking gills. If Christian Kirk is able to play like he did last year, same with Zay Jones, and then Calvin Ridley comes back from that gambling and he just plays like he did in Atlanta, oh my gosh, what an offense for Trevor Lawrence. I'm very excited to see what Trevor Lawrence can do. Trevor Lawrence, another one of those quarterbacks that I just love. This is a guy that last year in DFS won me $5,000, so I love Trevor Lawrence. That was the game, if you guys remember, where he got hit. It looked like he was done, Dunsky, out, and then he just rises up, comes back into the game, and wins me a lot of money. I love you, Trevor Lawrence. Moving to tier number 4, we got my guy Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins, wearing my Miami Heat D-Wade City jersey. 13 games played in 2022, quarterback 12 in points per game, 15 on the season, 400 passing attempts, 30.8 per game, 18th, 3,548 passing yards, 272.9 per game, 12th, 25 passing touchdowns, a 6.3% rate, 8th, 8 interceptions, 20th, 24 carries, 70 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns. Every time Tua runs the ball, as a Dolphins fan, I shit a bunch in my pants. My pants look soiled after the game because I'm scared of him getting his head hit. To be honest, anyone watching the game, I'm scared when any quarterback runs the ball, especially Tua, fucking scares me. The only argument you can make against Tua, in my opinion, is the injuries. If you want to fade him because you think he's going to get hurt again, whatever, shoot yourself, or shoot, is that the fucking correct term? Suit yourself, not shoot yourself. Suit yourself. I'm riding with Tua. I think if he's able to stay healthy, he has elite upside at the quarterback position. Another guy loaded to the gills with talent around him, Tyreek Waddle. They lose Gesicki. So what? They bring in Chosen Anderson, Robbie Anderson. They have Braxton Berrios. They have Devin off the chain, Devin 2 chains. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, might even add Dalvin Cook. I mean, this offense is loaded. This is a team that completely turned around from what Tua did early on in his career. Mike McDaniel is an offensive genius. Tua 11th in true passer rating, 3rd in QBR. This guy was dropping his nuts on defenses after his injury against the Bengals, and then right up before he ends up getting that concussion that ends his season up against the Packers on Christmas. Wasn't the Christmas gift that I wanted, but I know Tua is going to give me more than a Christmas gift this year. I have drafted him so much on Underdog Fantasy, and I can't wait to see him in my winning lineup. I love my guy, Tua Tagovailoa. I am so excited for what he's going to do again. I think Mike McDaniel has shape-shifted this man into what I thought he was going to be coming out of Alabama. I know people don't like him. They think he's injury-prone. They think this. They hate the Dolphins. It is what it is. I'm going to keep staying strong on Tua. People say, Nick, you're a fucking bandwagon. Look at your Dolphins logo. Dan Marino behind you. I get it. But for years when the Dolphins were terrible, you would never see me touting their players. Just never did it. But now that they're good, I can do it, right? I'm kind of a fair thinker. At number 10, still in tier 4, Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, quarterback 11, pick 35.8 on Underdog. Fantasy quarterback 19, 16 in points per game. 12 games played in 2022. If you remember, he got hurt early on the season, and we saw Cooper Rush, the Cooper Rush experience. 394 passing attempts, 32.8 per game, 19th at quarterback. 23 passing tugs, 5.8% rate, 13th. 15 INTs, first, 45 carries, 182 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 20th, 80.6 true pass rating, 22nd, 12th in QBR. Bad year out of Dak. If I'm just being honest with you, again, people make the arguments, Nick, the turnovers aren't all his fault. Sure, but they all count the fucking same on the stat sheet. You don't magically not lose 2 points or however many points you lose your league for an interception because fucking a receiver, it hit their hands and went flying up in the air. Magically, a defensive player caught it, right? You still lose the same amount of points. Dak had a down year, but he was hurt early on. Still think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I still think he has a crazy upside in any given game, especially when that Dallas offense hits. They add a brand new receiver in Brandon Cooks. They lose Dalton Schultz, but they'll be just fine with the tight end core that they have. Tony Pollard's also pretty helpful. I like Dak. Again, these 3 quarterbacks in tier number 4, I definitely like tier 3, 2, and 1 ahead of them. But I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on all 3 of these guys, in my opinion. And while Dak didn't hit the expectations that I had on him, and I think most people had on him last year, right? Because he was going much ahead of quarterback 16, quarterback 19 on the season, 16 points per game. Sure. But do I like Mike McCarthy? No. But again, this team, while they fail in the playoffs, they're normally squeaky clean the regular season. Number 11, closing out tier number 4, we got Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns, underdog ADP, quarterback 9, pick 83.8, quarterback 36 on the season, 25 points per game. I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to read his stats. They were awful, terrible. It was like, it was hard to watch. Like, it really was. Like, you'd turn on a Browns game, and you would almost rather watch fucking paint dry than Deshaun Watson command that offense. 6 games played, 170 pass attempts, 28.3 per game, 37th, 1,102 passing yards, 183.7 per game, 38th, 7 passing touchdowns, 4.1% rate, 33rd, 5 interceptions, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That sucks ass. 36 carries, 175 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Didn't even qualify for the efficiency stats, so can't talk about those. Watson in Houston literally looked like a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. In Cleveland, he looked like he shouldn't even be able to legally operate a fucking vehicle because he's Stevie Wonder and he's fucking blind, right? It looked like he had no idea what he was doing. He looked lost out there. He looked terrible. Awful. So many words to describe how bad Deshaun Watson looked. Do I think he can bounce back in a big way? Yes. Yes, I do. That's another great offense. Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore potentially on the up and up. 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. They have David Njoku. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones. They have a pretty solid offense. I do have him ranked below ADP because I am worried about the fact that he might just permanently suck. But we saw last year, that might just be what he is. He might have had all that allure, that swagger in Houston, and he just lost it. He's a broken man. Maybe that's true. But I'm going to be honest, I'd rather bet on his comeback because I think if we see kind of what we saw in Houston, he's a really good quarterback, and ranking him below out of the top 12 to me is a little bit crazy. Now we move to tier number 5. Now this is just a fucking crazy amount of players. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks in tier number 5, beginning with Danny Dimes of the Giants, underdog ADP, quarterback 14, pick 107.8, quarterback 9, quarterback 10 in points per game. Daniel Jones is the classic case of fantasy football is fucked up because Daniel Jones, I don't think, is all that good, but he can rush the ball. Quarterback 9, quarterback 10 in points per game, 16 games played, 120 carries, 4th, 708 rushing yards, 5th, 7 rushing touchdowns, 3rd. He was pretty good passer, though. 94 true passer rating, 8th, 7th in QBR. So he turned things around, 15 passing touchdowns at a 3.2% rate. You'd expect that to increase. 5 interceptions, 32nd at quarterback. They bring in Jalen Hyatt in the draft. Sure, their quarterback or their wide receiver core is pretty mid, right? Hodgins, Wandale, Hyatt. They get rid of that stooge, fucking Kenny Golladay. They bring in Darren Waller. I mean, like, sure, it's definitely better than last year, but it's not like they're now magically one of the best receiver cores in the NFL. But again, Daniel Jones did so little or so much with so little last year for fantasy football. That new head coach, dude, completely turns everything around. It is insane comparing Joe Judge to Brian Daboll. It's laughable how bad things used to be in New York. Daniel Jones looks like another guy. Again, I shit on his passing play, but the efficiency stats say he's actually pretty good. Again, I don't think he's a great player, but the rushing upside is just so high. Number 13, another guy, not a great player, crazy rushing upsides. Anthony Richardson, underdog ADP, quarterback 10, pick 90.1. I'm going to be honest. I get it on underdog. I get it in best ball. You draft him, and you just hope everything, when you draft my best ball teams, I'm drafting like I'm a fucking genius. Like everything is going to go right. Like I draft Anthony Richardson, Gardner doesn't play at all. Anthony Richardson is the second coming of Jalen Hurts, or he's Lamar Jackson. He's just going to rush 1,000,000 times, Justin Fields. Or Gardner Minshew plays, sure. You have another quarterback play, and then bam, Anthony Richardson comes flying in and is amazing. I think that is possible. But I can't rank Anthony Richardson in the top 10, feeling like maybe Gardner plays the first couple of games, because then when you draft Richardson as high as you have to, then you are fucking handicapping your team, because now you have to draft 2 quarterbacks. You have to pay the pretty penny for Richardson, and then you have to draft another guy to start for him early on in the season. But again, the crazy rushing upside. He has a strong arm as well. People compare him to Josh Allen coming out of college. I liked Allen's tape coming out of college better, but still think Anthony Richardson looks really good for fantasy. At number 14, we got Kirk Chains of the Minnesota Vikings. Quarterback 13 on Underdog. Pick 103.7. Quarterback 8, 14 in points per game. 17 games played. Kirk Cousins is the definition of wrapping a condom around your team. During the regular time games, 1 o'clock, the noon nightmare himself is going to explode. He's going to play great. Kirk Cousins typically never going to let you down unless it's a night game, but he's also never going to really be the reason why you win your game. You just have Kirk Cousins in your lineup, and you're just fine with it, right? You're just like, fuck it. I got Kirk Cousins. It's a good matchup. He'll be fine. The defense, slightly better. The defense kind of sucks, so they got to throw the ball. 17 games played, 643 passing attempts, 37.8 per game, fourth. 4,547 passing yards, 267.5 per game, fourth. 29 passing touchdowns, 4.5% rate, fifth. 14 interceptions, third. 31 carries, 23rd. 97 rushing yards, 26th. 2 rushing touchdowns, 13th. Some interesting efficiency stats. 93.1% passer rating, 10th. 23rd in QBR, though. Again, I will never sit here and claim that Kirk Cousins is amazing. I think Kirk Cousins is underrated. I think the Vikings were overrated last year, but Kirk Cousins as a whole is an underrated player. He has Justin fucking Fields to throw, not Justin Fields, Justin fucking Jefferson to throw the ball to. It doesn't take Aaron Rodgers in his prime, Tom Brady, Mahomes to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. They add Jordan Addison. They have Hawkinson. They have running backs. Maybe Dalvin Cook's gone, but they got Madison. They've got a decent team. They got a KJ Osborne as well. So again, Kirk Cousins is like wrapping a condom around your team. Sure, it might not feel as good, but gets the job done. Number 15, another kind of condom-like guy, Jared Goff of the Lions, Underdog ADP, quarterback 17, pick 124.9, quarterback 10, quarterback 15 in points per game. Fun fact about Jared Goff, he dates a swimsuit model for Sports Illustrated. 17 games played in 2022, 587 passing attempts, 34.5 per game, 6th. 4,438 passing yards, 261.1 per game, 6th. 29 passing touchdowns, 4.9% rate, 5th. 7 INTs, 24th. 29 carries, 74 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns. 9th in true passer rating, 5th in QBR. Jared Goff is another guy that gets harassed for no reason. Seems like everyone says, oh, Jared Goff's gone in Detroit, right? Oh, he's going to be gone soon. But every fucking thing that you see out of Dan Campbell's mouth is Jared Goff's the guy. You watch the tape last year, Jared Goff is very clearly the guy for the Detroit Lions. The Lions are another team, sure. If Jared Goff had Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, he had TJ Hawkinson in the past, and Jordan Addison, then I'd have Jared Goff ranked ahead of Kirk Cousins. The problem is Jared Goff has Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then he has Jameson Williams, wherever the fuck that guy can show up because he decided to gamble. Who else? They also have they don't have DJ Chark. They have Marvin Jones back, and then they have my boy Sam Laporta. So if Jared Goff was on with the Vikings receiving core, I'd have him ranked ahead of Kirk Cousins. I have these guys all ranked very similarly. It's funny, though, because the first two, it's like, oh, the rushing, and these other two are great at passing, or the other four. Number 16, we got Aaron Rodgers of the Jets, Underdog ADP, quarterback 15, pick 113.8, quarterback 13 last year, 26 in points per game. Snoozer of a season out of the back-to-back discount double-check MVP. Back-to-back MVP. He sucked last year. He stunk. You smell that? That's Aaron Rodgers last season. Reeks. 542 passing attempts, 10th. 3,695 passing yards, 11th. 26 passing touchdowns, 7th. 12 interceptions, 7th. The interceptions were bad out of Rodgers. Real bad. Again, it wasn't like it was the highest amount in the NFL, but a lot of those, it was like, the fuck are you looking at, Rodgers? 34 carries, 94 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdowns, 12th in passer rating, 26th in QBR. Some people will say, Rodgers is finished. Rodgers is washed. Rodgers is this. Rodgers is that. Now, Rodgers isn't Tom Brady, but Tom Brady was able to play for a really long time, and Rodgers is really good. So, one down year in Green Bay with a pretty bad receiver core. I'm not going to say that Rodgers is finished. Now, he gets Garrett Wilson. He has, besides Garrett Wilson, like some okay receivers. Conklin, Breece Hall. I mean, not the worst supporting cast, not the best. Look, I got him at quarterback 16. Would I be surprised if he was quarterback 12? No. But how much higher can I rank him? Like, the hype train for the Jets is at its peak. It's at its peak, right? It has reached an all-time high. Too damn high. It's crazy how people are talking about the Jets. Now I'm a Dolphins fan. I hate the Jets. My dad's a Jets fan. I like my dad, but I don't like the Jets. Will you say that I'm being biased? I wouldn't think so. I think the Jets are going to probably win 8 to 10 games. They have a great defense, which actually sucks for Rodgers because they're not going to need to drop 32, 34, 37, have these crazy high-scoring games like Mahomes. Like, that defense isn't good. He might have to drop 42. He might have to drop his nuts on the forehead of the defense. Rodgers, I don't think, is going to have to do that. And I think that kind of hurts him as well. Quarterback 17, Geno Smith of the Seattle Seahawks, underdog ADP. Quarterback 16, pick 114.9. I think people are going to be mad at this take. Quarterback 5, quarterback 11 in points per game last season. 17 games played, 572 passing attempts. Number 9, 4,282 passing yards. 8th, 30 passing touchdowns at a 5.2% rate. 4th, 11 INTs. 68 carries, 366 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Top 10 in carries and rushing yards. Sneaky good at rushing. Look. The question is, was last year a fluke, or did Pete Carroll change Geno Smith? Because I've been watching football Geno Smith's whole career. Every time Geno Smith stepped on the field, he was bad. He was really bad. He wasn't good. Sure, he had some decent games, but overall, he was bad. Then last year, just magically ascends, magically plays great. So the question is Geno Smith fucking as old as he is, now he's not ancient or something, but in his older age, he just magically becomes good? Or did we just see like a crazy 1 year fucking Linsanity run, Jeremy Lin run out of Geno Smith? I'm closer to thinking it's the second one. But the problem lies with me wanting to bury Geno Smith. The team. The offense. Metcalf, Lockett, and they draft JSN. They draft Zach Charbonnet. They have Kenneth Walker. I don't love Noah Fant, but Noah Fant's pretty decent. The offensive line's pretty decent. The defense is pretty okay, but not enough to where, like, oh, Seattle doesn't have to throw late in the game. They will. So again, I think Geno Smith really isn't good. But they have such good, like, they might have the best trio at wide receiver in the NFL. So how can I sit here and demean Geno Smith more? I've already moved him as low as I could get him. He's going to be just fine, probably. But what keeps him from going way higher in the rankings, like where he finished last year, is the fact that I don't think he's that good. But the receivers around him carry him. Number 18, moving to tier number 6, just one guy, Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson of the Broncos, underdog ADP, quarterback 18, pick 132.9. Last year, he was awful. He was awful. He finished high in the stats, but he was awful. Quarterback 16, 20 in points per game, tied with Jimmy Garoppolo. 15 games played, 483 passing attempts, 32.2 per game, 12th, 3,524 passing yards, 13th. So, things look good. 16 touchdowns, 3.3% rate, 19th, 11 interceptions, 10th. He has some rushing upside as well, 55 carries, 12th, 277 rushing yards, 11th, 3 rushing touchdowns, 9th. 26th in true passer rating, 27th in QBR. Bad out of Russell Wilson. I think there was like 2 games where it's like, oh my God, Russell Wilson is back. And then after that, like, you'd be like, oh my gosh, you could finally, I thought, oh, maybe Russell Wilson's back to his good old days. And then, like, Will Smith, a fucking backhand to the face. Roger Federer backhand to the face. KO. It's terrible. It's terrible. But can Sean Payton build this man back up? I don't know. I don't think so. But once you get past Russell, like, if you don't get one of these top 16, 17 guys again, I don't even like Geno Smith. But if you don't get one of those guys, like, if you get caught in the avalanche, like, you forget to draft a quarterback, and then people start taking second quarterbacks in one quarterback league, and your quarterback number 1 is Russell Wilson, you better be praying to the football gods that this man, it was just in magic, fairy dust that he had a shit season, and he's going to be just fine. And maybe that's true, though, because Nathaniel Hackett's a bit of an idiot. Now, tier number 7, the rest of them. The rest of yous. Derek Carr of the Saints, quarterback 19, pick 145.9. Quarterback 17 last year, 22 in points per game, tied with famous Jameis Winston, now his teammate. 15 games played, 502 passing attempts, 11th, 3,522 passing yards. 234.8 per game, 14th, 24 passing touchdowns, 12th, 24 carries, 102 rushing yards, 0 rushing touchdowns, 23rd true passer, QBR 14th. He was okay. I really want to have Carr ranked higher because I also really like Derek Carr. I think he's better than what he put up last season because I don't think that Josh McDaniels is a great head coach. But I also have to be honest. If Michael Thomas can't stay healthy, like, the Raiders realistically have a better offensive core than the Saints, right? Like, sure, I love Chris Olave, but the Raiders have fucking Devontae Adams. The Raiders had Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs. Sure, they have a better head coach, maybe. You still have Taysom Hill roaming around. Sure, they paid Derek Carr all that money, but is Derek Carr really the answer? Derek Carr is like trying to fit one of those rectangular pegs in a circular hole, like when you were a kid, and they had you try to like put the shapes together. That's like what Derek Carr is. Number 20, my guy, Matthew Stafford, quarterback of the Rams, quarterback 22 on underdog, pick 158.3. I hope I'm wrong about Stafford. I really do. That injury scares the living shit out of me. Scares me. Didn't look great last year. 303 passing attempts, 33.7 per game, 29th. 2,807 passing yards, 231.9 per game, 30th. 10 passing touchdowns, 3.3% rate, 31st. 8 interceptions. 10 passing touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Has no rushing upside. 81.4 true pass rating, 20th. 22nd in QBR. Bad season. But he has Cooper Kupp. And I think Matthew Stafford, if he is fully healthy, is really good. I think so. But in terms of redraft, do I want to hitch my team to Matthew Stafford? No, I just don't. I don't because of the injury. If I knew he was fully healthy, if I knew that it wasn't going to affect him, I would be all wheels up, all aboard the choo-choo train for Matthew Stafford. But I just can't be because I'm scared of the injury. Number 21, can you do something for me? Bryce Young of the Panthers. Underdog ADP quarterback, 23, pick 172.2. The rookie, first overall NFL draft pick out of Alabama. Looks amazing at Alabama. Now he's in Carolina. Receiver core, pretty mid. Pretty mid. They got Mingo, they got Chark, they've got Thielen. No Christian McCaffrey, they have Miles Sanders. They don't have a tight end really either. Hayden Hurst. So while I like Bryce Young, he doesn't have a lot of rushing upside. He's a good quarterback. I think for the future, he's going to be good. But I think going for his rookie year, I think the best rookie quarterback is Anthony Richardson. 22, CJ Stroud, Houston Texans. Underdog ADP quarterback 26, pick 191.8. Pick number 2 in the NFL draft. Like him out of the Ohio State. I guess him and Bryce Young have pretty similar rushing upside in my opinion. Which isn't a lot, but it's also not like zero. Texans wide receiver core, pretty mid as well. Mechie, we'll see what he ends up being like this year. Nico Collins. They have some other guys. They have Dalton Schultz. They have a nice run game. Decent offensive line. Good head coach. Really good head coach in my opinion. Or I think he's going to be a good head coach. And they have a good defense. Again, I like Stroud. I've drafted him on some best ball teams. I think he's like a cool late stack option. Like maybe the Texans pop off a couple weeks. But let's be honest, like when it's week 4 and they're playing the Colts, like do you want to start CJ Stroud? No. No, you don't. Number 23, Kenny Pickett, small hands man of the Steelers. Underdog ADP quarterback 24, pick 174.4. Quarterback 28 last year, 37 in points per game. And there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. 13 games played, 398 passing attempts, 21st, 2,404 passing yards, 24th, 7 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 1.8% rate on the touchdowns. That's got to go up. 55 carries, 237 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, all in the top 15. 34th in true passer rating, 20th in QBR. Look, I'm not here to dunk on Kenny Pickett. I'm not. I think he's going to be better this year. But again, Pickett is one of those like Mac Joneses, right? You draft him. You drafted him. That's it. Like you drafted him. You have to fucking play him. Fate of the universe on the line. Death beam pointed at Earth. You got to play him. You want Iguodala, right? You got to play him. But that's not who you want, right? You don't want Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's like the guy where your quarterback 2 goes down in a super flex league and you have to play Kenny Pickett. I hope Kenny Pickett's better because I like him. I think he's a fun player. He seems like a nice guy. Has some decent rushing upside. But again, I don't think he has crazy upside. I just don't think any of these guys have crazy upside this year, except for maybe Stafford if he's able to stay healthy. And then to close it out, Kyler Murray, the short king. Talked about short hands, short king. Or small hands, small guy. Kyler Murray needs a step stool to brush his teeth in the morning. That also looks like a different move that I just did, but imagine it was a toothbrush and not what else you could have thought it was, you sick fuck. Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals, underdog ADP, quarterback 20, pick 148.8, quarterback 18, quarterback 9 in points per game. The bad man is gone. Cliff Kingsbury, no longer. Their new head coach, though. Not like excited about that. DeAndre Hopkins is gone. He's a good quarterback, but this is my argument against him. If I knew he was healthy week 1, he'd be like a top 10 guy because he has so much rushing upside. Problem is, he might miss the first 4, 5, 6 games. He goes to come back. The Cardinals have 1 win, 0 wins. They say, GM gets on the phone. He says, hey, pal, coach, you can't play Kyler because he's our future guy. And then he hangs up the phone. And then Kyler doesn't play at all. Again, I get why people are going to draft him. He's got the rushing upside. He's a good quarterback when he's healthy, even if D-Hop isn't there. Things can't be much worse. Much worse. I sound like fucking Mike Tyson. Much worse than Cliff Kingsbury. But let's be honest. The Cardinals are like one of the worst teams in the NFL. So Kyler might not play at all. So thank you guys for watching. Go Heat. Bet on them to win the championship as well. Go Heat. Love you guys. Hope you guys all have a great rest of your guys' day. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. This video was a little bit longer than I wanted, but they're all a little longer than I wanted because I like talking. So have a good day. I love you guys deep down in my heart. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Notorious, link in the video description. Check that all out. Love you, as always. Good boy.